Welcome to episode 1 of the Salt and Sass podcast. I'm Suzanne.
And I'm Mandi.
Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody to our little gaming podcast. For a lot of you, hopefully, you used to listen to us when we were hosts on the Dice Tower podcast. And we are so glad to be back, and we are ecstatic to have you back with us, joining us for more of our salty and sassy shenanigans all around games. Mandi, I've missed you. It's great to see you.
You too. This feels kind of weird. I guess I'm supposed to say surreal, but it's weird because it's been a hot minute since we've, done the podcast thing. Like it's good, but weird. Am I the only one?
No, I get it. And thank you to everybody out there who's been asking us when we were going to be back and for your patience as we were sorting out logistics and making things happen. Life has a way. You know how it goes. But yeah, it is. It feels weird, but it feels good.
But good. Yes.
Hopefully it feels good for you too. Otherwise, we've got a bigger problem.
It feels, just like playing board games. It's awesome. It's fun. Lots of surprises.
Excellent. So thank you, everybody. This is not going to be 100% typical episode because we're just getting back on, back into the groove. And honestly, if you listen to us on the Dice Tower, some of this will feel really familiar. We worked a lot, Mandi, right, on picking what do we want this podcast to be and what do we want to bring forward and what do we want to change up and how do we want to do things. And so just to kind of set expectations, we're here to share our love of the tabletop gaming world. We are going to be talking about games that we've been playing. We're going to be inviting experts from the industry to talk about things that they know about the industry. We're going to be doing Q&A, all that stuff. And we debated it, right, Mandi? But we are keeping and bringing forward our very popular Game Pie section at the end of the show.
Yes, and it has not increased in number. It is still pie.
Three and a bit. That's right.
3 and a bit.
It's Game Pie, which Game Pie is our segment where we're going to just talk about some games within a certain category. So maybe it's going to be by certain illustrators, or maybe it's going to be from a certain publisher or a certain theme, or whatever strikes our fancy will be served up in our warm, loving Game Pie segment. Because honestly, we got a lot of feedback that people enjoyed that. So thank you so much for giving us feedback, because it really helped us shape what we want this show to be. And, as we get rolling, we are open to feedback. You can always reach out to us. We're on social media at Salt and Sass Games, on Twitter especially. You can reach us on Gmail, saltandsassgames@gmail.com. Give us your comments, give us your questions, give us your feedback. We're going to, Mandi, I think one of the things we said is we want to be flexible here, right?
Right. Absolutely.
We want to be able to make this show something that makes us happy and that makes you happy. And so bring us that commentary, especially as we're getting rolling again, because we want to hear from you for sure. Mandi, what am I forgetting? Any setup that we want to get out of the way before we just kind of, try to get back into the swing?
Well, it wasn't mentioned, but I do have to say, when we started, a song came to mind. On the Road Again. That's exactly what I thought of. And then for some reason, I thought of The Littlest Hobo, which is a completely different song. It's a Canadian show. I know.
Oh, no. It's already starting. We're back to the Canadian shows.
I'm sorry. Just reminded me of that. But anyway, I digress. But I think we covered it all.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, maybe what we should do is do like 1 minute on who we are, and then we can maybe dig in.
Yes, but I also have a little bit I want to talk about. Just a little. I know it's not a board game, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Okay. Just a little bit.
Well, let's do intros first.
Okay.
So, hi everybody. Intro. My name is Suzanne Sheldon, and I have been playing hobby-style board games since the 90s, since about 1994, when I discovered Magic the Gathering, and then playing Magic the Gathering in the back of the local game stores, where I discovered games like Quarto or Robo Rally and things like that really pulled me into the hobby board gaming scene. But the reality is I've been playing games all of my life. I got into kind of the classic card games with my family, games like Bridge and Spades and things like that. So I've really been gaming my entire life. About, 9 years ago, I started making content for the Dice Tower, doing videos on crowdfunding games and on board game apps. And then Mandi and I started doing the Dice Tower podcast. And I actually ended up leaving my 20-year career in advertising, and I now work in the board game industry as well. So hopefully I can bring some of that knowledge into the podcast as well about behind the scenes and what it takes to make board games.
Wow, I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that, but here we go. I'm going to try. So my name is Mandi Hutchinson. And like Suzanne, I've been playing board games my entire life. It was a voluntold activity as a child, but, secretly we were like, nah, this is fun. This is fun. I got back into modern board gaming probably not as long ago, Suzanne, maybe about 10 years ago or so. And content
It's okay.
creation
You can call me old,
about...
Mandi. I know.
No, just vintage. Huh? Okay, no, that's not good. That was bad. I'm so sorry.
No, considering how much you love vintage things, I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh gosh, it already starts, everybody. So I've been doing content creation for about 5 or 6 years. I had my own channel, To Die For Games, for a long time with some other contributors as well. And then I was on the Dice Tower, and most notably with Suzanne on the Dice Tower podcast. I'm a teacher by trade. I used to teach children, but now I work for the federal government and teach adults. Yes, that is a very, very different world than children, but I still enjoy teaching. So there's that. And I like video games. I think I covered it. I mean, I like other things. I like to sew and I like to snowboard, but I also enjoy video games.
That's right.
I try. But so I might pop in the little video game from time to time. Not a lot, but just a little something.
I'm sure there are no other tabletop gamers out there that have any interest in video games. None whatsoever, Mandi.
Well, we are also going to be doing this on video, but a lot of people know that I talk about Nintendo Switch games and the Xbox, which are pictured in the video, but you will also hear me talk about them as well.
All right, Mandi.
Well,
good job. Now, what did you want to talk about? I suspect it might be a video game. Did you
like that segue?
Yeah, I knew it. Can't resist, can you?
Okay, it's not a huge thing. So I have a lot of PC games, and I have a very nice setup. I just don't tend to play on the PC a lot, just because I'm working. I'm at a PC all day, and I'm like, I just need to be in my bed. But I played this game called Strange Horticulture, and it's really cool. It talks about plants, and you're trying to look for plants, and you're trying to find specific plants for the customers that are coming in. And it has kind of like a little bit of a dark storyline, not terribly dark that someone younger couldn't play, but it has a little bit of a dark storyline to it. And it's really cool trying to identify these plants, find these plants, and you have a map, and there are puzzles and that you have to figure out to find them. I actually think this would make a great board game, just throwing it out there. But I actually finished it, and I rarely finish games that are like super lengthy, or I'm just like, okay, I'm bored. I really enjoyed it. So Strange Horticulture, I think it's on Steam. I think it's only like $15 or something.
Stop making me put things on my wish list.
But throwing it out there, if people play it, I would love to know if you agree that you think it would make like a nice kind of puzzly board game. I really think it could happen. So I'm probably going to be doing this every podcast, just throwing it out there. Find a really cool video game that I enjoy, and I'm going to share it with all of you. So there you go.
Alrighty. So I think one of the things that Mandi and I really like is spending money on board games.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, tabletop games, right? So, and one way in, the way the industry and the hobby is now, that's on crowdfunding platforms, right? So, Mandi, let's talk about a crowdfunding game, shall we? Hey folks, Suzanne from the Edit Booth here, and just dropping in with a quick note that we actually recorded this episode a little while ago, and it took us a little extra time to get this to air, which means unfortunately you're going to hear about some campaigns that are now over. But hey, don't forget to go and check out the campaigns for late pledges, or you can always try to get the games in retail when they become available later. And thank you so much for putting up with us as we work through some podcast launch little hiccups and bumps along the way.
I guess I'm going first. There was a pause there. So
did you want to go first? I mean, I didn't have a game, but I had a topic I wanted to mention.
Yeah. So you know what? I'll go first. Let me go first because I have a few things. Yeah, so there are a lot of people who know, and there are some people who don't know, that I quite enjoy chip theory games. And there are a few I've talked about on the podcast. There are Too Many Bones, Cloudspire, most recently Burn Cycle, which Suzanne and I did a kind of a snippet playthrough of the first level of the game, which was rough. But you can always go and check that out on the channel. But coming up soon, it is in a preview stage, but it will be on GameFound, is Burn Cycle, New Recruits series reprint on GameFound.
Cool.
it's going to be, I think, I'm not sure the exact date that it's coming, but I think it's soon. So you're thinking, well, I just bought Burn Cycle, or I just got Burn Cycle. Like, why do I need all these things? So, but it's giving you new recruits. So I know some of you have been playing it religiously. So this will give you a few things that you can add to your game. In addition to that, I also think they're updating rules and booklets in there, so it's just make it a bit easier to follow, or anything that possibly wasn't super clear, which I appreciate. So that's going to be coming up on GameFound, so something that you can take a look for. And I enjoyed Burn Cycle, so it's one that I think you should look at if you didn't get it the first time, or you're interested in adding a little bit more, or getting those updated pieces. And the second thing that I have is Dice Throne, Santa
Wait a minute,
versus
you're getting
Krampus.
two?
I get two.
That's not what we discussed.
I'm cheating. I'm allowed. See, this is where the situation, you're Santa and I'm Krampus, and I'm okay with it. So, Dice Throne for me is one of those hit or miss games. I feel you have to play it with certain people, or I played it before with some people, they didn't really enjoy it, so it didn't make it fun for me. But I did like it when I played with other people. But the whole Santa versus Krampus theme, I'm here for it. Like, I love this so much. So that is on Kickstarter, and I believe it ends on July 18th. So there you go. Those are my two selections for this podcast.
Excellent. So, I didn't have a specific game I wanted to highlight this particular episode, but I did want to talk about some of the crowdfunding and games news that broke somewhat recently. Is that BackerKit, which is a pledge manager that a lot of campaigns have used for Kickstarters in the past, has decided to start their own crowdfunding platform called Crowdfunding. Now, this may be like nuanced or shades of gray for people, but basically, a while back, Kickstarter kind of announced that they were going to explore crypto technology, which a lot of people, including myself, don't care for. We think it's
absolutely
problematic at best. And unfortunately, Kickstarter, the way they handled the announcement and the subsequent discussion and the subsequent questions, they didn't really handle it well, in my opinion, either. And it created a lot of frustration and disappointment within the gaming industry specifically. So people were looking for alternatives, including the already existing Indiegogo. And then, of course, GameFound, which you just mentioned, Mandi, which is a games-focused crowdfunding platform that started out as a pledge manager in the industry.
Right.
Well, here comes BackerKit, which is a massive pledge manager that's touched thousands upon thousands upon thousands of campaigns and has millions of users out there. And they're now doing crowdfunding. So, when you're logging in, you're like, oh, what's new? And you might have previously checked Kickstarter, and now maybe you're starting to check GameFound. Now you're going to have BackerKit to check as well, which I think is really, really interesting. And for full disclosure, so in my role where I support restoration games, I have helped run a campaign or 2 or 3 on Kickstarter. And I have run a campaign on GameFound. And restoration is one of the launch campaigns on BackerKit's game funding campaign as well. So, Mandi, soon I will be one of the few people that have run a campaign on all 3 different platforms, not Indiegogo, but all those 3 different platforms. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes of that. I have high hopes for the platform in terms of what it can offer to the industry and choice, and focusing on user experience, both from a campaign runner's point of view and from a backer's point of view. And I fingers crossed, because I do kind of feel like it's a space where there's opportunity for a group that listens to consumers, that is responsive to feature needs, that's responsive to community, and everything that BackerKit said so far indicates that that's their direction. So, fingers crossed.
I know this might be more of a discussion for another day, but do you think Kickstarter is going to be one of those things that people are like, we're just not going to do that anymore, or until further evidence comes out?
We'll see. I mean, I think arguably right after some of these announcements, we saw a really big disengagement from Kickstarter within the industry. I think I see some of that coming back. And to be clear, there's not necessarily judgment from me on makers who choose to use Kickstarter. There are a lot of very valid business reasons that creators feel compelled to use Kickstarter as a platform, which is a much bigger, longer discussion I won't get into. But there's reason to believe that some people are going to walk away from it, and there's reason to believe that plenty of people won't. But ultimately, theoretically, in our, capitalist society, choice is good. So all this offers, if nothing else, is more choice.
That's true. Very, very true. Oh, there we go. See, it's always good to be in the know.
So, Mandi.
Yes.
let's talk about some games. I know we've got, like, you and I both have, like, we have, like, this backlog of games that we've been, like, it's building this. I need to talk about games energy. It's just building up and it's going to explode.
I have a lot, and I haven't been playing a ton of like newer games, which some people I know are like, yeah, that's great. Like I think I played Shipyard the other day, which I had never played. It's been sitting on my shelf for the longest time,
and I'm like, and then Ashley, it's not that old. Oh my gosh.
No, sorry. And when I say older, I just mean ones that are not like 2022. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? And Ashley the shark taught it to me, so we played that together, and it was quite good. I was terrible at it, but quite fun. But we'll save that for another day. Games now that I'm going to talk about now. I feel like there might be some judging here. No judging allowed. Well, okay, you can judge me secretly in your mind. You don't have to tell me about it. But I played Monopoly, Hello Kitty, and Friends. Now I know. People are going, ugh, Monopoly. But this one is so cute. It's so cute. It literally is like the whole Sanrio family is there. And for those who have not played Monopoly, just to break it down really simply, you're just trying to acquire different properties on the board, and by doing so, people landing on them, they have to pay you, and you want to try and put out hotels and things like that to make it more expensive. The explanation of the game sounds really bad when you actually think about it in like a realistic society, but this version I find very cute. So you're visiting your look at it cute? As you're visiting your friends' shops, you know what I mean? And you just might have to pay a little extra to visit that friend's shop if they have hotels nearby. So, I mean, Monopoly is one of those games where most people don't play it correctly because, you've thrown out some house rules, like if you get free parking, you get money, or, all sorts of things that will make the game longer. But we did play the shortened version because, it can be extended. And on the shortened version, 2 players, I think it would take just over an hour. I played with Ashley the Shark, and I won. She thought she had me. She thought she had me. Oh. And then, guess what I built? Guess which properties? Now, in the normal or
the equivalent
regular
in
Monopoly.
The standard board, yeah.
Sure. And I can't remember the name of it in Monopoly, Hello Kitty, and Friends.
Baltic Avenue.
Board. That was Ashley. And I kept landing on those suckers because they're cheap and they're like right after go. But I got Park Place and Boardwalk. You only need to land on those.
Oh my gosh, you would, Mandy. That would be so your play. Of course it is.
So I always go for those ones. And let's be clear, Ashley had a whole boulevard, a whole street of properties, which I managed to pass quite well. But it only takes a few times with a couple hotels and stuff on those properties, Boardwalk and Park Place, and it's over. And that's unfortunate for Ashley that that's where it went. But I enjoyed our time together with that. So Monopoly, Hello Kitty, Friends, it's the same premise as Monopoly. It's just cute. So you have all your Sanrio family, the little pieces that you're using are the same ones, the family ones, and they're super, super cute. So, your Choco Cat and all of these other characters, and which for me, I love because I was really big into Sanrio characters. But if you're not a big Monopoly fan, is it going to change your mind? No, absolutely not. It's Monopoly. It's just reskinned, cuter. Do you know what I mean? And they have a lot of these thematic types of Monopoly, and I feel like there'll be one for somebody. Do you know what I mean? If you like Star Wars, or if you like, I don't know why Nancy Drew came into my mind. I don't even think that's a Monopoly. But maybe I want that. But I'm just saying, there is something for everybody. So if you don't like Monopoly, is it going to change your mind? No. As someone who doesn't mind it, especially when it's played correctly, it does make the game kind of flow better. I enjoyed it because it kind of brought me back to, it's so cute. And I used to love these sorts of things. And, winning was just icing on the cake. But I did enjoy my time with Monopoly, Hello Kitty, and Friends. So if you're looking for a new copy, you want something super cute, this is something that you can try. The rules are very straightforward and simple, and they do have a shortened game version, which I appreciate, and I think most people would probably like. So that was published. I don't think I even said who it was published by. Wow, I am rusty. So it was published by the OP.
Guy.
I know, I'm so rusty. So Monopoly, Hello Kitty, and Friends, published by the OP. There you go.
Yeah, and Mandy, I think I own a few different versions of Monopoly, and we're not anti-Monopoly, and I think, Mandy, in general, you and I are very much on the, if you like Monopoly, awesome. Let's not gatekeep, and let's appreciate that every game has somebody that really likes it. One thing to point out about, though, if you haven't checked out different versions of Monopoly, along with different themes and art that may appeal to you, they do change the mechanics in a lot of the sets a little bit. So I have the Steven Universe and I have the Animal Crossing versions, and they actually do introduce different elements like token collection or things like that fit with the theme and
really?
change the gameplay. Yeah. And change.
Oh, not in this version.
No, well, maybe not in that version, but some of the versions.
Yeah.
So if there's one that appeals to you, flip over the box and double check that it, does it add something different? Because they're not all exactly the same. They're not all just reskins, is my point, for what it's worth.
I think some of the cards, too, and it's escaping me, but the 2 piles of cards you get, and if you land on a certain space, you get to draw a card from them. I think maybe some of those actions are slightly different, but that's really it. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, first up for me, Echoes the Dancer. Echoes is kind of a deduction game in a small box from Ravensburger, and it's designed by Matthew Dunstan and Dave Neal, and the illustrations are by M81 Studio. I was intrigued by this concept when I first discovered these games because it said that the clues are given by sound. So this is a game that really pulls on a sense that often isn't required for tabletop games. And that's audio. So you're going to have this small little box of basically cards, and then you're going to have to download the free Echoes app. Because what happens is you get all these cards and you lay them out, and then you use the app to scan the cards, and it uses image recognition. There's no QR code, so it's thematic. I love games that integrate AR technology and things like that. It is kind of cool that they just do image recognition. There's no QR code to disrupt the thematic nature of the illustration. And then each card has an audio sound or clip associated with it. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is you have you have 6 chapters and then a bunch of cards. And you're just trying to organize the cards into the correct chapters and the chapters into the correct order so that you tell the full story of the mystery from end to end. Now, I've only played the Dancer. This was ultimately you're trying to solve how a person died. I don't know if the other ones in the series are around murders or death as well, but that's what this one was about. And so you're listening to the clues and you're picking up on details like, oh, is that a squeaky shoe? Is that the same squeak that we heard in this other audio clip? And well, it doesn't make sense that this dialogue happened before that dialogue, so they must have to come in opposite directions. And you're shuffling it around and you're discussing it with your teammates, your friends who are around the table with you. You're replaying sounds and telling this story. And I had a blast doing it. Now, the first thing I'll say is that we were going to play a different puzzle game, my group and I. It was 5 of us that night. And the other game, not a criticism of it per se, wasn't well suited for 5 because the cards had a ton of text on them. And we realized pretty quickly, this isn't going to work for the 5 of us around the table. This is better for like 2 players. So then we pulled out Echoes. Echoes worked great for a group of 5. The cards are big and roomy. We laid them out on the table. It was really engaging. Everybody could hear the sounds. It was a lot of dialogue, a lot of moving cards around together. And I love that it suited 5 in this kind of cooperative deduction experience really, really well. That was Aces. It's a little annoying that you have to rescan the cards. So the scanning the cards worked great, but we all said after you scan the card, it would be great if you just had a button with the picture on it and the app. You still need the cards because a lot of it was moving the cards around. It wasn't a game that you could just say, oh, it could all be an app. No, there's a lot of value in the cards being in front of you and that interaction and organization. But for replaying sounds, because you often wanted to go back and listen again and again, not having to rescan the cards would have been maybe nicer for us. But that's such a minor quibble in an overall very positive experience. The games are very inexpensive. I think like $10 to $12, somewhere in there. I can't wait for the next one. This Echoes seems like it's going to be a really cool gaming experience, and I loved the Dancer. So if you have an opportunity to check that out, please do so.
Were the dancers tiny?
Where's the? Can I mute you? How do I do that? In the mute?
I'm sorry.
Can I end the call?
As you're talking,
what are we doing? Oh my gosh!
I had Elton John in my head. Sorry, but it does. I had not heard of this game. It does sound super fun. Yeah, you're gonna have to show that to me because I've never even heard of it.
Well, Mandi, you're coming down to visit me in about a month.
Yes.
So excited. I will save one for us to play together, okay?
Very exciting. And yeah, we'll see how it goes with Ashley.
Well, this one's cooperative, so we're all good.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I'm like, and that's why I said, Cooperative is good. If I have to play against you all, then, I might as well just like
whatever, you kicked her butt in Monopoly Hello Kitty.
Yeah, I know. That was a fluke, though. We'll have to do a rematch. I digress. The last game I'm going to talk about today is one I feel is not getting enough love. I've heard a few people talk about it, which is great, and they had positive things to say, but I feel like it's just not out there enough. So Free Radicals, and this is designed by Nathan Wall. Art is by Tomasz Szystowski, and it's published by WizKids. Oh, look at that. I remembered to say all the things. I believe it's 2 to 4 players, and I think it would. We played at 3-player count, and it took us about maybe an hour and a half, depending on the characters we were playing. And the reason why I say that, it's important to know that this is one of those types of games where it's like asymmetrical. So you have a player that you're picking, or like a character, and it does something different than other characters. So, for example, I had one that used polyominoes. I had another one that used cards and a stage. I had another one that was more of a programming, kind of technique that they use. So, several choices of characters, but the point of what you're trying to do with your character, what everyone's trying to do, is to try to get points by collecting each other's cubes. I know it sounds weird and I don't know the technical name of it, but you're trying to collect these cubes because it's like a set collection at the end, so those give you lots of points. You're also trying to get out these kind of cards or objective cards on the board. Basically, complete the objective, it gives you points or money or whatever it may be, and in doing so, you can open up a building on the board and put your cube there to say, I've kind of put money into this building, and people visiting these buildings can give you things. So resources or things like that you'll need in order to complete these objective cards. There's another track which you also want to push forward on, and this is where you don't necessarily want to push yourself forward, you want to push other people forward because it gets you more of other people's cubes, but it costs money to push yourself forward on this track. So these are just a few ways that you can get points in the game, and the end of the game is, and I don't remember how many rounds exactly, but after a set amount of rounds, the game will end. So near the end, though, you're really pushing oh my gosh, I need to finish these sets, or okay, I really need to get these cards out of my hand because they're, going to give me more points. But I found that our game played pretty tight. We were all within, I don't think anyone was more than 7 to 10 points away. And I know people often worry about playing games that are asymmetrical, where people have different powers or abilities, that one's going to run away with the game. I didn't find that at all. And I've played several of them. I think I played one, it was a rock star person. So you had a stage with cards you had to put out to action. My favorite was the one with the polyominoes. So basically when you're taking actions, you have cards that have polyominoes, and putting them in a certain space allows you to do a certain type of action. And then completing certain areas will get you bonuses. Anyway, there's just so many things going on, but it's not complicated. Once you get the game and understand your character, they give you character sheets which lay everything out for you, your actions, how to do things, which I very much appreciate. I would recommend laminating them, though, because the quality of paper is But I do... Well, I gotta be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do appreciate the outlining of the characters. You can just sit down, read that in 5 to 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, and you'll understand what you're supposed to do. So Free Radicals, for me, looking at the box, not gonna lie, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this game. It just looks not like my thing at all. It was pleasant surprise. Myself, my friends were like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And I've played this several times, trying to play through all the different characters. So lots of replayability there, which I very much appreciate. I don't even think I have I don't think I really have negative things to say about the game. I feel that there are some characters that I'm not going to be as open to playing because I'm not a fan of programming, and there are a couple that are a little more complex.
Oh, I love programming.
Which there are a couple that you are going to love. For me, I'm good, thank you. But I have choices, and I can choose something else that I'd like to play. So they do have a balance with kind of characters that are easier, kind of medium, more complex, and then different styles of play. So I appreciate that. So I really liked it, and I feel like people really need to give it a chance. The art wasn't for me specifically, but just ignore that. The game itself was quite good. So Free Radicals from WizKids, chef's kiss. I loved it.
I mean, I gotta say, I haven't prioritized trying this game, but you've talked me into it. I'm gonna try to find a copy because that sounds really fun. Good job, Mandy. Ugh, my wallet curses you. All right, and the last game I'm going to talk about today, Azul Queen's Garden. Now, a lot of folks out there have played some iteration in this Azul line that started with Plan B games, but is now Next Move games. This is designed by one of the best game designers in the industry, Michael Kiesling. And I mean, I will play anything Michael Kiesling designs at least once, right? Because I just
Yeah, sure.
so good. And I've really, really liked the Azul game line in general. Now, Mandy, everybody has opinions here, and well, maybe I can check it at the end. But for me personally,
Sure.
before I played Queen's Garden, classic Azul was probably still my favorite. I
Yep,
ended up
me
not
too.
preferring the stained glass of Sintra. I liked some things in there, like how you moved and selected, but how does Queen's Garden? Because when I first heard about Queen's Garden, it uses hexagonal tiles that you're putting on your playboard, and then you're trying to create like your garden. I'd heard from people that it was heavier, that it was more complex and deeper than the other games in the Azul line. So I was really interested because anybody who's listened to us talk about games, we talk about a wide variety of games. And you and I are both, I think the term is omni gamers. We'll play
Yeah.
almost anything.
Yeah.
Mandy doesn't prefer dexterity games. I don't prefer memory involved games, that kind of thing. But yeah, we'll try anything.
Sure.
But in general, Mandy, both you and I actually prefer slightly heavier games or
Yes.
really heavier games just in day-to-day gaming. So I was like, ooh, Queen's Garden. All right, I'm in. So Azul's Queen Garden uses a lot of the same core mechanisms of Azul, where you get tiles. They go out into a field that you can select from, and you select tiles, and then you place them on your board. That's very Azul formula. In this one, the tiles come out a little differently, and you can choose between these board pieces or the actual, like, Bakelite, acrylic, whatever plastic tiles they are to put on your board. There's placement adjacency. They all have colors or a pattern on them. And adjacency rules involve matching patterns or matching colors or not matching patterns and not matching colors. Because in point of fact, you can't duplicate a tile in a grouping for scoring. So you can't have two orange tree tiles in the same grouping and still score it. You have to split them apart, that kind of thing. So you're going around and you're making a choice between putting board pieces out or putting these hexagonal tiles. You're trying to plan ahead and figure out, well, what groupings are you creating? You can see the scoring and how each round you're going to be scoring a different set of things. So maybe early in the game, you're going to be scoring green trees, and then later in the game, you're going to be scoring yellow butterflies. Okay, well, then do I prioritize getting as much green stuff out so I can get early points, or do I want to just slow build and have a bigger end game rush with yellow tiles and butterfly tiles and that kind of thing?
Right.
So some interesting choices there. And of course, all that depends on how the tiles come out of the bag as well. That's kind of a high level overview of Queen's Garden. I will tell you, I liked it. But it was hard to tell I liked it, Mandy. Now, I know you've played this as well, and I think you're going to
Several
relate
times.
to what I'm about to say next. Our group had to really push through our first game of this because the rule book was not friendly to learning what is a relatively simple game. And there were so many things that were unclear in terms of how the draft worked, how adjacency worked, how scoring worked. There were edge cases that we were trying to figure out examples for that we didn't feel were clear. We were asking questions that we felt were basic but weren't covered in the rules from what we can tell. And it created a very early game frustrating experience for us that just set the tone negatively. And we kind of pushed through because it's Azul and we thought it would be a short game, and heck, you were pot committed at that point. Now, I will say, once we figured things out and got going, we were around the table in our first game going, okay, wait a minute. This actually is a good game. It just took us forever to figure it out, to get through all that mud, to get to the clean water. And in the second time I played, it was much smoother. We actually still did, because, it was still a little rough. We actually still did struggle with the rules a little bit, but at least once the question came up, if it had already been answered in a previous play, it was much smoother that way. So where I fall on Azul's Queen Garden is I actually really do enjoy the game. I think it is a more complex puzzle. You can plan for it a little bit, but like with all these things where there's a random element to coming out, you have to be a little bit flexible, and that really suits my play style. But boy, oh boy, be prepared if you're going in. It's such a short rule book. You think it should be simple, but I think that rule set could have could have used some love. I gotta be honest. And Mandi, I'm pretty sure you feel the same.
Oh, and this isn't the first one. I think there are a couple others where the rule books were a little dicey, but this would be, in my opinion, the worst of the bunch, unfortunately. And rules are really important because it kind of affects the enjoyment of the game. And it took us, I think, after game 2 where we were finally like, okay, we're good. But I remember there were like specific parts, one in particular when you're trying to pay for tiles to go out. And I remember having a discussion and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure you can't use the same one to pay or whatever it was, and my friends were like, no, I think it's this. I'm like, if you read it and the words that are being used, it got down to us looking at the punctuation and if something was plural. Seriously, that's how deep it got to see. And then they were like, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, to make sure the rule was correct. And then finally I went on a forum because I couldn't find anything earlier. And literally what I had said was correct. But I was like, it should not have taken that much brain power. Yeah. Okay. Me using my teacherly skills here in grammar to figure out that rule. So that was a little frustrating for me. But I do enjoy the game, even though I call it Azul adjacent.
Very, very fair. I think in the world of Azul, this does not overtake basic Azul. No. But I like it better than Stained Glass of Sintra.
Me too.
We'll see. I'll play it again and see if it adjusts. But I do like the complexity of the puzzle. I really wish it was easier to learn because I still just have that little bitterness right in the back of my mouth over this one and the complexity of learning what is a very simple game. I think it's worth a look. Just be prepared right, when you get into it.
Yes, exactly. Apparently the rules in German are a bit clearer. So if you speak German, you might be in better luck. I was hoping the rules were in French, and then sometimes I'll read rules in French, and it's... No, seriously, though, because sometimes it's clearer in a different language, but it actually wasn't super clear, I don't think, in French, because I believe ours does come with French rules in Canada. But yeah, so good game. I really enjoyed it, but those rules... Ouch. It's an ouchie.
Well, folks, one of the things that I am super excited about is as we were talking about what segments we wanted to have in our new podcast, we wanted to talk, we wanted to integrate the community. And there were a number of ways that we figured we could do that, whether it's taking questions from you all or whether it's inviting guests on the show, things like that. And as we're just, dialoguing about, Mandi had the greatest idea, which is inviting experts from the field, from our industry, to talk about something that they're super knowledgeable about, super passionate about, something that they care about, whether it's the legal elements with Justin from Restoration Games, who happens to be a practicing attorney, or shipping, or all the little details, illustration, whatever it is. So I really hope that you enjoy listening to these segments over time as well. We're really excited to invite people on to share their passion and their smarts with us as well in the You're the Expert segment.
It was a team brainstorm.
That's right. We're very collaborative.
Hi there, I'm Justin Jacobson, aka the Board Game Necromancer, and I'm the owner of Restoration Games. We specialize in finding beloved out-of-print games, updating them, and bringing them back for today's modern gamers. But before I started Restoration Games, I practiced law for 20 years. Now, anyone who knows me will not be shocked how excited I am to hear myself talk. I mean, be on the thoroughly zesty Salt and Sass podcast. I'm here today to talk about trademarks, but as an attorney, I need to start things off with a disclaimer. Yes, I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. This is for educational purposes only, not legal advice. For starters, I'm not licensed to practice law anywhere but Florida, and more importantly, this is just a broad overview. So much of what happens in any given legal case depends on the specific facts of that case. So, with the fine print out of the way, let's jump into the exciting world of trademark law. Now, trademarks are one type of intellectual property, or IP as it's sometimes abbreviated. Property is quite simply a thing that can be owned. From there, the law divides things into tangible and intangible property, which is to say physical things that can be possessed, like cars and board games, and non-physical things, things you can't take home in a bag, things like the four major components of intellectual property: copyright, patents, trademarks, trade secrets, and relevant to this talk, trademarks. Now we'll get into the nuts and bolts in a minute, but what does it really mean to own something? Under the law, the most important feature of property is the rights that it confers to the owner. This includes the right to possession and use of the property, the right to transfer ownership to someone else, whether by sale or gift or your last will and testament, even the right to destroy the property. But the most important aspect of ownership rights in intellectual property, and specifically in trademarks, is the right to prevent others from using it. This makes perfect sense, right? If I own a car, I have the right to prevent you from using it. You don't get to use my car without my permission. Even if you think it's really cool, even if it's just to take a quick trip to the store, even if it bothers you that I hardly ever drive it, it's mine. I own it. You want a car? Go get your own. So what is a trademark? It's all there in the name. It's a mark in trade. That is to say, it's something distinctive that identifies a particular product as belonging to a particular source. And remember what I said, it's really all about the right to prevent other people from using it. Trademarks have been in use for nearly 1,000 years. The idea is that a consumer could buy a product with confidence about its quality, craftsmen could be rewarded for their reputations with loyal customers, and unscrupulous charlatans couldn't try to pass off their lesser goods as someone else's. Although things today are a lot more confusing and sophisticated, it still harkens back to that fundamental principle. If I go into the store and I buy a Diet Coke, I know what it's going to taste like. I don't want to get some counterfeit beverage that some amateur chemist cooked up in their bathtub. I think if there's one principle to keep in mind in thinking about trademarks and what they mean and how they are used, it's this. Would an average person be confused that this product was actually made by someone else? If you keep that in mind, that will answer 98% of your questions about what you should and shouldn't be doing. Now, there are whole semester-long classes in law school on trademarks, so I couldn't possibly cover every possible topic. But let's do a quick hit on some of the finer points and answer some common questions. Now, trademarks aren't just the name of a product. You certainly can trademark a name. That's called a word mark. That's the highest bar you need to clear for trademark protection because it protects that word regardless of how or where it appears. The more distinctive the name, the more likely it will be subject to protection. Made-up names, or fanciful marks as they're called, are easiest to protect. So something like Florp Games is going to be stronger than Six-Sider Games. But you can also protect a product's trade dress, basically the distinctive look of a product. A famous example of this being the ornate tome look of the 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons core books. But you can even protect a sound, smell, or shape if it's distinctive enough. Think about something like the shape of the Coca-Cola bottle. Now, trademark can be limited in terms of geography. If you had a restaurant in South Florida called Gator Grub, that wouldn't preclude someone in Louisiana from opening a restaurant with the same name. Of course, if you're selling your product on the internet across the country, you can claim that mark broadly. And don't even get me started on international trademarks. Likewise, a trademark is limited by the class of goods it covers. I couldn't call my game company Apple Games, but I could probably get away with calling my dry cleaner store Apple Dry Cleaning. Now, what do you actually get when you trademark something? Or what do you actually do to get a trademark on something? The short answer is nothing. All you need to do to claim trademark rights on something is to slap a TM on it near the mark itself and offer it for sale. Just so we're clear, despite what the internet might have told you, you can't gain a trademark by saying something clever followed by loudly shouting, "Trademark!" What about that circle R, you ask? Well, that's for registered trademarks. Do you need to register your trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office? Probably not. The major benefits of registration are presumption of ownership should litigation arise. But one of the other benefits is that you can file for registration with a notice of intent to use, which is to say before you actually start selling the product. That can be helpful if you're worried about someone else potentially using the mark before you get ready to bring your product to market. If you do decide to register, my suggestion is to get an attorney to do the work for you. It's relatively inexpensive and easy to screw up if you don't know what you're doing. Once you are using your trademark, it will last as long as you continue to sell the product. Unlike copyright and patents, there is no set duration. However, there are a few things to keep in mind. You need to be somewhat vigilant in preventing unauthorized use. If someone else uses your mark inappropriately, you need to request that they stop doing so. Failure to do so can lead to a determination that you've abandoned the mark. You can also lose your trademark rights if the usage becomes so common it is deemed to have become generic, something that has happened to famous former marks such as escalator and granola. No, folks can still use your mark in two important ways. First is the oft misunderstood concept of fair use. It's the same concept with copyright, but it's applied differently in trademarks. And without going into too much detail, someone could use your mark to show that their product was, for example, a competitor to or compatible with your product. This is why Pepsi can use Coke's trademarks in their commercials. But the most common way that someone can use your mark is if you let them. This is referred to as a license, which is a separate agreement that outlines where and how they can use the mark, and most importantly for you, what your compensation will be for the right to do so. Well, there you have it, a 5-minute primer on trademarks. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me on my Restoration Games Twitter account @RestorationGame, leave off the S, and be sure to check out our games like Return to Dark Tower, Unmatched, and more at restorationgames.com. Thanks to Mandi and Suzanne for having me on Salt and Sass, #trademark.
Mandy, we're back! We have game pie! Yay!
Nom 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 nom. Game pie.
Honestly, like we liked doing game pie. It was a really fun, relaxed way for us to do a tops list without feeling the pressure of sorting them, organizing them, whatever. It's like, hey, here's a topic. Here's some games we like that fit that topic. That's all. It's a delicious game pie. And so that's what our game pie segment's all about. Mandi, when we were trying to figure out, well, what does episode 1 game pie have to be?
It's gonna be
Had to be
big one.
kind of helping people get to know us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is our That's So You game pie.
I feel like
I
we're just
love it.
not going to have enough games here, but we're just picking. I just picked ones that came to mind. Just like, oh yeah, that looks good. So,
Right. So I think we feel like this is a little collection of games that not define us in hobby games, but
Sure.
like when you think of them, like, oh yeah, that's a Mandi game, or
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's a Suzanne game. These are kind of games that fit that category, and looking at them, at least for my list, certainly some of these games are really meaningful to me as well. So that they're so you. So Mandi,
Exactly.
as is tradition, why don't you kick us off?
Okay, well, this first one, and I can't even say that I found it on my own. Suzanne is the one who directed my gaze to this game, and I said, ooh, that looks good. Let me spend some money on it. So that would be Carnegie. And this was a crowdfunding game, and I ended up getting the deluxe version, and in the game, I don't think I'm very good at it, but in the game, I'm trying to, get my workers to work on my board and getting different buildings to, then in turn put my little tokens on the main board and spread my reach across the main board to get some points at the end of the game. So it's really important you get across that board. And then there's some end game points you can get based on, I'm going to pay some money to get this here. And for example, depending on how many buildings I've built at the end of the game, because I chose that specific objective, I can get some points. That's just an example. And these are a few of the things. And there's a separate little board
So many choices.
Right, manages our actions, and you get to choose actions. And usually you hear your neighbor go, darn it, I didn't want you to choose that one, because it may trigger something that they weren't ready for, and a lot of things happening. So Carnegie, for me, so good. I've played this game so much. Amazing. Thanks for that suggestion. But this is a me game.
Oh, I'm glad to say
100%.
I love Carnegie too. Excellent
So
choice. For folks who know me, they know I really like the roll and write genre of game, and
Do
I
you?
feel like
You do?
Many of these games where you roll a die or you flip a card and then you get a sheet. Yeah, okay. And so I felt like, I have to have a roll and write, but oh my gosh, what roll and write do I pick? That's almost impossible. And it
So
was
many.
like, ultimately, I decided on Quinto. Quinto has a lot of things about it that I like. including the fact that it's a roll and write. It has the simplicity that I like about something where it just uses plain D6s and a plain sheet. And voila, you've got a really great game. I love the simplicity, but it's very thinky because you have to write numbers from left to right. They have to ascend. They don't have to be sequential. So it's kind of free form. Mm-hmm. You have to pick which dice you roll on your turn because you have 3 different dice and they're associated with different rows. So if you roll 2 of the dice, you have a different range of numbers that you can potentially roll versus 3 of the dice versus 1. And the color of the die does matter as well. And then the extra twist is that you can't duplicate a number in a column, and then there's special scoring spots.
Right.
So for such a simple game, you get to do a lot of thinking with a very simple rule set. And even though I don't think it's supposed to be a high energy game per se, every time I've played it, it ended up having a lot of energy because you care about what other people roll. And so
for sure.
if I need a high number and Mandy's just going to roll 1 die, maybe I enthusiastically encourage her to roll more dice by pounding on the table and chanting, roll them all, roll them all, roll them all. So, yeah. Quinto, I love it. Classic roll and write game. You should try it.
Oh, so good. I played that one so much. Carol, I'm looking at you. When we first got it, I think we played that till like 1 a.m. It was so good. So if you haven't figured it out by now, I do generally like worker placement, Euro type games. I'll play anything, but definitely if you think of those games, you're like, oh yeah, that's a Mandy game. And Horseless Carriage is one that had to make my list. Now, this is a little bit of a cheat because I don't think it's available yet, or it's soon available.
I was going to say, I have not played. What?
But I played it. I played it at a convention, and it is a Splotter game. And other Splotter games that I've mentioned are Food Chain Magnate, which is another one of my favorites. And this one has like an automobile theme, and you are literally building like where you're going to sell your cars, and you're building, how you're going to manufacture your cars. And even that in itself, how you place that will determine the certain kind of parts you need to manufacture. There's like a main board where you're trying to sell your cars, and depending on the types of cars you're building, this is really important, will depend on how much you're going to get for it and which part of the board, right? Because maybe certain areas, I can raise my price a little bit, but you have to be able to reach those areas. And there are other little things in the game that you can do, but I really like this game. I was awful at it, but like most games, I'm awful at them at first until I kind of figure them out. Sure. But it's so interesting to me. And I actually didn't mind the car theme at all because it made sense. You produce the car or manufacture the car. You need the parts in order to do that. And then you need to sell the car. Like, it just makes sense. And I like games that make sense. So Horseless Carriage for me, really good Splotter game. Don't love that it starts at 3-player, but I'm willing to overlook it if I can get a group of 3.
Got it. Well, next slice for me and my game pie, Robo Rally.
I never played this.
Robo Rally.
Never played it.
So Robo Rally is a Richard Garfield game from '95. So part of my love for Robo Rally deals with it's one of the earlier like hobby style games that I really got to dig into back in the old game store. And so without a doubt, a little bit of nostalgia here goes. But it's still an amazing game. So Robo Rally, you are robots working in some unnamed factory. And at the end of the night, when everybody's gone home, you as robots are having these capture the flag death races around the factory floor. So the game board is modular, made of different game boards that you assemble, and then you put out flags and you're racing between the flags. You are shooting lasers at each other. You're getting moved by conveyor belts on the floor. You're getting moved by turners on the floor. You can upgrade yourself with new abilities and new equipment. You can play as a robot named Twonky, which, is amazing.
Wait, is it a twerking robot?
It could be. It could be. Oh my gosh, Mandy, did you? Oh boy, she just did that. I'm gonna move on and pretend I didn't see that happen. Wow.
In my chair.
So, Robo Rally is also a programming game where you get a hand of cards and you those are the moves you have. So maybe it's move forward, turn left, turn right, move back, whatever. And you have to make the most of it. There are initiative numbers at the top. So there's a chance that if I move forward, but then Mandy moves forward, you could push me off my path, shoot a laser at me, and completely throw me off. So it's programming. There's robotic chaos, and that's going to turn a lot of people off. I love it. I love it all. I love the programming. I love the character. I love the chaos. It's a beautiful, fabulous game.
Yeah.
I think it's very me, Mandy. It's Robo-Realm.
That is 100%. You're talking about it, and my eyes like, but definitely I thought, yeah, that's right up Suzanne's alley. So I may have to try it. Can't promise it'll be good. So next one for me is Underwater Cities. Now, don't judge my explanation of this game. It's been a hot minute since I've played it. So these are the things I remember, but I did really enjoy it and love it. And it's still downstairs. And actually now I really want to pull it to the table. But in the game, you're basically using cards to create some actions. And you're trying to create a system with these cards. And there are assistants that are going to help you with your actions, which are nice. But the problem is you're limited on how many of these types of cards you can have out, like your assistants. But also the color of your card and where you're playing on the board matter. So yeah, you can play in a certain spot, but if you want that like extra little boost, you're going to want to play a card that matches the color of the space you're going to. So that's like a very high level overview of the game. It's deeper than that. I have yet to play the expansion, but I'm really loving the base game. But Underwater Cities is definitely one of those heavier, lengthier games, but I never noticed the time when I was playing that game. I would do it, I'm like, oh shoot, it's over? Like, it was so good. So definitely now that I'm talking about it, I need to get back to the table and try out that expansion and see how it is. But Underwater Cities, oh yeah, that's like right up my alley.
Excellent. Another excellent choice. So my third slice of That's So You Pie is Caylus. Anybody who knows me knows I was going to say Caylus in this because
of course.
Caylus has long stood as one of my top 5 games of all time. It is kind of a classic, almost one of the earliest examples of a worker placement game. I love worker placement. Mandy, you love worker placement.
Yeah.
Underwater Cities is essentially a worker placement game, right?
Exactly.
Caylus, designed by William Adia, with a famous cover of the stern, disappointed-looking king. Oh my gosh, the Caylus King is classic as well. I mean, practically a meme, right, in the board game world.
Yes.
And honestly, you're just going along, you're moving, you have this path of tiles. It's so basic and so dry. And that's what I love it. You're going around, you're collecting resources. Meat is a pink cube. Fabric is a purple cube. That kind of thing. You get your workers out. You're collecting resources so that you can score points by delivering parts to a castle or getting favors from the king. And it's so quote-unquote Euro for people who know what a Euro style game. It's like a quintessential Euro. But Mandy, I love pushing cubes. Theme schmeme, right? I love wooden cubes in games. Caylus did it early. It did it great. And as far as I'm concerned, it really stands up in terms of gameplay, even almost 20 years later. And the other thing about Caylus is it has a little bit of player interaction in it with this thing called the provost. So after you get all your workers out, there's this piece, and you can try to manipulate it backwards so that you basically cut off your opponents. And even though they had planned on getting resources, if you can cut them off, they don't get them. And then they yell at you, and you make them very mad. And that's also very fun. So if that's your thing, yeah,
so
Caylus
mean.
is your game.
So mean. But why do I picture you, me, and Ashley playing, and you and Ashley gang up on me, and then be like, okay, she's out of the picture. Let's go for each other. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, exactly. Suzanne game, for sure. The last game on my list, it was close. It was between this game and Scrabble, which my mother's been kicking my butt in lately. I need a win here. But Patchwork is my last choice. And this is one that I play with my mom often. She loves it. This is a game that I trounce her in many times, but she still comes back for more. So, game that just brings back a lot of good memories with my mom. And even though it's a simple game, it really gets your mind going. And I'm really bad at it, and I've often ended up in the negatives. So that might be something I need to work on. But Patchwork for me, excellent game. And it's one of those games like Polyomino. Anytime you're literally creating a quilt with your polyominoes, I'm about it. And then I need to get those little patches, though. I always seem to miss the little ones that plug up the holes that you miss.
Oh,
on
the
your
single
thing.
ones?
Oh,
yeah.
It's so
you gotta
frustrating.
Go around the time track.
And my mom's like, ha, 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 got it. So, yeah, that's literally what I have in my mind. But yes, polyominoes, making a quilt, I'm about it. So, Patchwork, very nice game.
Yeah, Uwe Rosenberg game, so darn good. So darn good.
I even got another version. Got the Halloween version.
Right. It's got eyeballs instead of buttons. It's great. I love it. All right, my last slice of game pie. Hey, if you've got a couple of deck of cards, standard decks of cards at home, you can play this game. Pinochle. Mm-hmm. I have to put an homage to my love of classic card games and classic trick-taking games in here, and Pinochle will likely forever reign as my favorite. I always call Pinochle the gamer's classic card game because in Pinochle there are 2 phases to play. The first phase, called the meld phase, is where you're trying to make sets with your cards, whether it's like pairs of kings and queens together or getting an actual Pinochle, which is a specific queen and a specific jack paired together. And so you can trade cards with your partner, right? It's a 4-player game. You trade cards with your partner, you form these sets, you display your sets, and then you score points based on the meld. Then you scoop up all those cards and you play a pretty standard trick-taking game in which you play a card, other players have to match the suit, the high card takes the trick, you've bid, so you've said, oh, I can get 5 tricks or I can get 7 tricks, and you want to hit that kind of thing. And then you play out a very standard trick-taking game in which you will also score points. And I think that 2-phase play and the way the meld and the trick-taking works together is very quote-unquote gamer, whatever that means. Because the meld, one, you're showing your opponents what cards you have in your hand to get those points. 2, some of the cards that you can score good meld points with, like runs in a suit, can be bad for play. You don't want low cards in play, but to get those meld points, you had to keep them. And I think that drives some really interesting choices. And then there's the social aspect. When you build up a relationship with your Pinochle partner, oh my gosh, you can be wicked good at this game, and it's so much fun. So Pinochle is one of those games that, honestly, Mandi, if you haven't played, like, I want to go to conventions with a Pinochle deck and just be like, I'm going to teach you how to play Pinochle because it's that good and you're going to love it. Mandi, have you played Pinochle?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute, but yes, I have played.
Okay. So Pinochle is my last slice of That Is So You game pie.
I know. I'm not even full. Like, I could eat so much more. And I know people will be like, Mandi, why didn't you say this? Or Suzanne, no, this is a you game. There are lots. But yeah, definitely a fun one for us today.
Absolutely. Well, Mandi, that feels like an episode.
This is the end. Well, of episode 1.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us and for being here. Welcome back to our listeners who have joined us from our previous podcast. Welcome to all of you new listeners.
Yeah.
We're really excited to have you here with us. And Mandi and I will always say this, that the podcast is just about our love of games and sharing that love with you. Right. And we think it is a pleasure and a privilege to be here podcasting with you. And we really do mean that. You can email us with questions, comments, like we mentioned earlier in the show. We want your feedback on this new format. You can reach us at saltandsassgames@gmail.com. And you can follow us on social media. Mandi, you've set all that up, right?
Yeah, so we have on Twitter, Salt and Sass Games. So not and, just the letter N, Salt and Sass Games. You can reach me at 613Mandi on Twitter and Instagram. And, well, Suzanne, why don't you let everyone else know where they can find you?
425 Suzanne on Twitter and Instagram. And we also have a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel under Salt and Sass Games as well. We'd love for you to go over and visit us there. You might be watching this video podcast on our YouTube channel right now. You might be listening on your favorite podcast player on your mobile device, wherever you are finding us. Thank you so much, and check out our other channels because we're going to be doing a variety of content on the different channels, kind of catered, right, to what Twitch does well and what YouTube does well and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So there you have it.
Yeah, that's a wrap. What?
That's a wrap. Click. Yeah. Clapper. Done.
And
thanks, everybody. Until next episode, have fun playing games.
Yeah, see you next time. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. If you'd like to support the podcast, please check us out on coffee.com, Salt and Sass Games. Thank you for your support. Salt and Sass is produced with love by Suzanne and Mandi, and we'll be back next episode with more salt, more sass, and more games.
3, 2, 1. Just like the good old days.
I was just about to say that.
Back on the road again. Here we go.
Here we go. On the road again.